you obviously study a lot about the Bible, and I love a lot of the things that you say about it. On your podcast, you have all these. You're digging. You're talking to religious figures. You're discussing the Bible. You're all these things. Yet, and I researched you, and I wanted to figure out what you believe, and I couldn't find it. I found that a question that you despise is, do you believe in God? And so I'd like to dig in and
see, the thing about God is that God isn't something you believe in. This is the thing. Or you could say that the way we conceptualize belief in the modern world is shallow. To believe in God is to commit your life. That's what the belief is. It isn't the statement, I believe in God. The statement can get in the way. It does all the time. It says in the Gospels, Christ himself says, not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Just because you say you believe something, it's like people say all the time that they're Christians. I'm a believing Christian. It's like, that's hard there, buddy. That's the most difficult possible commitment by definition. It's because it's the hoisting of the cross. Right? Really? You're going to commit to that, are you? So here's what you're committing to. Painful, unjust death, accompanied by betrayal, the perfidy of the mob, and the dominion of the tyrant. And you're going to welcome that. And that's not all, because Christ harrows hell. That's not all. That's just where it starts. Full confrontation with malevolence. You're going to commit to that, are you? Because that's what you're doing.
What do you mean you're going to commit to that? You mean you're going to commit to believe that
No, you're going to do it.
That you're going to do it.
In your own life. That's what Christ calls upon people to do. That's the imitation of Christ that's at the core of a genuine Christian commitment. Now, people will say, you can't get to heaven by works alone, and that's true. That's not what I mean. That's not the point here. The point is that the belief is a commitment to a pattern. The pattern is full voluntary confrontation. Full naked, crucified voluntary confrontation. Accepted in good faith, with joy, and courageously. Bring it on. Military people understand this. Christianity is not a comfort. Look, Christ says his burden is light. And what does that mean? It means that there's really nothing that can provide abundance and security like the truth. So that's the lightness part of it. But the cross part of it is you have to decide not to shrink away from anything. You don't get to live in a pumpkin shell anymore. That's the people. Christ comes back at the end of time, and he doesn't reserve his wrath for the sinners. He reserves his wrath for people who sit on the fence. And, people who want a normal, secure life, I'm not pillorying that. I'd rather have them than the radicals and the revolutionaries. But that's not what a human being is. Like we're bounders over the stormy ocean, We're built for a life of radical harness and adventure. We're built for the maximum sacrifice. That's what it means to believe, to accept that. No holds barred. Away we go. And so people say they're believing Christians. It's like, really? Really? You dare say that? You have no idea what you're saying. Because it's a total commitment. It's a total commitment to confront and ride out the worst. Well, I'll give you an example. So in the story of Exodus, the Israelites are lost in the desert. They're lost for like 45 years. And they're always whining and complaining and acting like, privileged slaves and pining for the tyranny and hoping for the golden calf and complaining that the heavenly food they have to eat isn't good enough because there's not enough variety. And it's like they're really quite contemptible. And near the end of their voyage to the promised land, really on the border, they run out of water again. And they go to Moses, and they're faithless and complaining, and God gets sick of them again, and he sends a bunch of poisonous serpents in to bite them. And you might think, well, no good God would do that. It's like you're not paying attention to the story. What's the story? If you're lost and faithless, and then you get whiny and resentful, it's just going to make it worse. And so you're in the desert, and you don't have enough to drink, and there's all sorts of stupid things you can do that bring the snakes forward. And so that's what happens, is that it's already bad, and they make it worse. So now there's all these poisonous snakes biting them. And they get tired of it eventually, and they go to Moses and they say, well, we know that you can talk to God, and so do you want to see if he'll call off the snakes? And Moses goes and has a chat with God, and God says basically that he's pretty sick and tired of the Israelites, and he thinks that some more snakes might be just the thing they need, but he decides that maybe he'll listen to Moses because Moses has, stored up a certain amount of goodwill. And so God says to Moses, cast a serpent in bronze and put it on a bronze pole and put it in the midst of the Israelites so they can all look on it. And if they look at it, then the poison won't affect them. He doesn't get rid of the snakes. He calls upon the Israelites to face what they're avoiding, to face what's poisoning them. And because of that, they become stronger. That's life, man. And so Christ says later, much later, that he has to be lifted up like the snake in the desert, which is a very strange thing for anyone to say. And the Israelites have to look on what they're terrified of in order to obtain resilience. That's the healing motif. That snake on the staff is the symbol of Asclepius. It's the symbol that physicians still use now to represent their healing enterprise. A little of what poisons you makes you stronger. That's the theory, right? And that's the theory of voluntary confrontation. Well, Christ, the crucifix is the same image except expanded. It's like all possible snakes. It's all the things that could happen to you if the worst possible things happen to you all at once. And the Christian calling is to welcome that. Right, to become the sort of person who could welcome that. And that's expanded in the crucifixion story.
So with all your studies that you've done in the Bible, and I'm asking you because you have immersed yourself in it and you've studied it for so long. Do you believe in it?
Well, I believe in it in the way that we just described. Do I believe that the truth sets you free? Absolutely. It isn't that I believe it even. I know it's true. I know it's true, and I try to live in that knowledge. It's very difficult to only think or say things that are true, but you can practice it. Mm-hmm. And it's a great relief. As you pointed out, you don't have to keep track of anything. That's just that in and of itself is
it's freeing.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Freeing.
Do I believe that Christ is the way and the life and that no one comes to the Father but through him? Sure. But I also know what that means. It means that, imagine that you want to have the Spirit of the Almighty dwell within you, say, in this Old Testament manner. How do you do that? By taking the burden of life on yourself voluntarily. Why? Because that causes the best within you to make itself manifest. You know that. Look, why did you push yourself on the military front? Why did you go become a Navy SEAL? That's a ridiculous thing to do, right? They just torture you to death in the water. Why'd you do it?
Because I wanted to serve my country in the highest capacity possible.
Okay, so why did you think that? So you believed that there was a highest capacity,
yes,
right? So that was an element of faith. And so personally, you put yourself through this brutal transformative process. How did that change you?
In a lot of ways, it changed me. we've been talking about this off and on. There was a lot of pride involved. And when I graduated from that, I never felt more pride. Another reason I did it was I always felt that I had fallen short in childhood, and I wanted my parents to have something to be proud of.
Okay, so let's separate pride from accomplishment,
Okay.
right? Because you could see pride would be unwarranted pride in your accomplishment, but that doesn't mean that there's no such thing as accomplishment. Okay, so do you feel that you accomplished something real when you went through the Navy SEAL training program?
Absolutely.
Okay, why was it real?
Because why was it real?
Yeah.
It was the hardest thing that I've done.
Right. That's right. Yeah, was it meaningful?
Absolutely.
Was it transformative?
Yes.
And it was the hardest thing you'd ever done. Okay, well that's the pathway. The pathway to what's most real is through the hardest things that you can do. No, you're going to put yourself together by shouldering maximal responsibility. No one's ever told me that. It's like, because you see, the conservatives say you should, and they finger wag. But that's not the right, it's not the optimal way of presenting it. It's like, no, you don't understand, is that the meaning that will sustain you in your life will be found in the voluntary shouldering of maximal responsibility. And everyone knows that. You know, if you go out of your way for your friends, you have better friendships. If you go out of your way for your wife, you have a better marriage. If you go out of your way for your kids, you have better kids. I don't mean in this like resentful martyrdom. I don't mean resentful martyrdom. I mean generous, sacrificial productivity. If you give yourself away, you get more back.